You start mass importing people from other countries through open immigration. And what happens then is someone walking down the street gets mugged by a guy who doesn't speak English. The black community in Chicago said, quote, "We are being replaced." This is not white people saying this. And so black people in Chicago all of a sudden are encountering Venezuelan gang members. This is a huge controversy. Tren de Aragua coming into the cities. And all of a sudden now, black communities are like, we don't know if the Mexican guy we're bumping into, Latino guy, is going to be my homie who lives down the street, or it's going to be Tren de Aragua who came here illegally. We don't know. However, they do know that when they see another black person, that's not Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua is not coming from Africa. It's coming from Venezuela. So this is the mass migration actually shattered this like, I grew up in a neighborhood with people of different races, and we all know and trust each other.
To be clear, though, that's not a problem with migration. That's a problem with an uncontrolled border and illegal immigration and not vetting and not knowing who's coming in and out.
And I completely agree with it. And my point is,
just to be clear, my position has always been we need a strong and secure border, but a system of open and orderly legal immigration.
What are we protecting? Because
we are protecting
moral
our
framework
country from
but what is our country? Because if it's not white European culture, there's not a connection, then what is our country?
It's
is it
a
African
culture, but it's not a white culture.
No, hold on. I got to pause you.
African
I got to pause
culture?
you. Can Christians only be white?
No. That's dumb.
So
American culture isn't related to Christian culture then.
No, because I said there's other homogeny, there's other linking factors. The culture originally comes from non-Christians. We're talking about Greek, Hellenistic, Roman. These are not originally Christian empires. So when I say white Christian, I mean white countries, European, the original Enlightenment, these ideals, which they even made DC after Rome.
Would we prefer it if the whole world was of a Christian moral framework and believing in Jesus Christ?
I do, personally.
So that would imply that in the United States, what we're protecting is not whiteness or being white. It's the moral framework and traditions of this country.
So yes, but I will say this is not even a contradictory statement. This is why I said, as a Christian, this is why it's very important. There's always been a debate on which founding fathers were Christian or not. This was built on Christian foundation and principles, not Judeo-Christian, but Christian. And the key thing about that is that, yes, that's why I just said that I would get along better with a black guy who was a believer in the Bible and the principles than I would a liberal white person, which is why I made that distinction. We're not just going, okay, whatever. So then do we then import all the black Christians from Africa? No, because it's not, just because you're Christian doesn't mean you still share, let's say, similar, like you might not be a good roommate with me. If you're just a black guy and a Christian from Africa, you might not be a good roommate. What's the number one thing? Well, maybe you don't even have a credit card and ability to help me pay rent. Like there's other factors to living with people versus respecting them.
The point I'm simply making is it is the moral traditions and our culture that we are protecting.
But the culture itself comes out of the race and out of the region, and then the value set on top of that paired, because eventually the Roman Empire became Christian. No, it is true. Comes from
I get it, but you're never going to convince a mixed race guy that this country is for white. Is just like
mixed.
White.
Well, then technically, if white's not really technically a race, right? I mean, there's obviously there's technically differences. My point is that yes, I'm not saying the mixed race thing. You would be assimilated enough where you would be the example of what I said. There's always been a portion of Americans. The blacks are the best example because they were not brought here out of merit. They didn't get it past to Disneyland. So we figured out, what do we do with these people? Well, they need to become American citizens. They need to be given rights. We can't have a slave labor, and we made sense with that. What we're doing today is not solving the issues that already exist. We're not like, oh, you're a part, Asian immigrant. Oh, you're not really an American. That's not what we're arguing. We're not even arguing about whether that you're an illegal American or whether or not you've adopted. My point is you've adopted ethnic European mindset. The way that you reason, the way that you think, the way that you look, the hobbies you're into.
I gotta pause you.
You are enough that you would not be considered not Western.
I gotta disagree with you.
You would not be considered
I think you assimilated Asian culture. Actually, a lot of the ideas that you're presenting were prevalent in Eastern Asia. Well, 1,000 years before Europe.
Do eat a lot of teriyaki bowls?
So
it's kind of sus.
I had this argument with this woke person who told me that the whole world is white culture that was created by whites, very much saying the same thing you are. That's what the
woke... I say all.
He just thinks the good part.
Well, no. I respect South Korea. I respect Japan a lot. I mean, I think Japan's a great culture.
The woke people believe that it was white European settlers who traveled around the world and spread whiteness around, and a lot of cultures assimilated into what they were forced to by the European colonists.
Well, I think that did happen. That wasn't a woke idea. I mean, look at the guns. I mean, we've got gunpowder from China, but then end up bringing muskets into Japan. I mean, there's a little bit. We all cross.
And right. So the point I brought up is, it is absolutely correct that white Europeans went around the world and imposed these worldviews and things like that, though they have largely changed. But a lot of these ideas also did originate in other places, largely in Asia. And so I don't think that
the world is not a singular narrative. Yeah,
I don't think white is the qualifier here.
I didn't say it's the. I said it's in terms of, that's why I said I'm not against people who are not white having the same value set and system. I meant it doesn't mean that if you are not white that you don't have this culture, that you don't have these value sets. It's like Jared Taylor.
I met some white communists in Eastern Europe. They're not fun people.
Jared Taylor, you know, for lack of better words, would be considered, I think he's probably banned on most social media, and he would be considered a very fundamental race realist. He was born in Japan, and he's very much, when he's there, he can assimilate. My understanding is he's fluent.
That's why he's race realist.
Yes.
Because Japanese people are very supremacist.
Yes, but Jared Taylor is not Japanese. Why? Because, you know, as much as Japanese people may accept him, and I'm not saying I'm not Japanese, I don't get to decide if they accept him or not. I'm sure he gets along, and I know Japanese people in general can be very understanding of some out-group preference.
I will say this.
Very limited.
Of the places I've been to, America, of course, is the least racist place I've ever experienced.
And the most diverse and multicultural.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.